Hello there. Am I on the sound system? Can people hear me?
We can hear you and we can see your screen. Everyone can see okay?
All right. And do you see me waving at you from Arizona, where I won't tell you how warm it is?
Yeah, we do see you waving and you can keep that temperature to yourself. And feel free, I don't know if you were able to hear those questions that came in, if you have any input on any of the
Yeah,
questions.
I do have a couple. I do have a couple of things to say, but first, let me introduce myself.
Thank you.
I've been not in the been in the Boston area for a couple of months. My name is Allan Mackenzie. I am also a consultant, like my esteemed colleague at the podium. My history is long and varied, but I started off as a legal secretary on an IBM Model D typewriter as well. Eventually, I worked for Wang Corporation, so I spent a lot of time in Boston. And if you ever used Wang word processing, you probably talked to me because I was in the front lines of telephone support. Eventually, I was the head of worldwide training at Microsoft, so we're going to talk a little bit about Word for just a second. And then I was the CIO of a Wall Street law litigation shop, so this is kind of my bailiwick. And I just happen to have some examples of what we were just discussing. So if I can, I'm going to pull up Microsoft Word, and you'll see the concept behind what we were just discussing, and I'll answer some questions on that, but let me give you some practical examples. Rather than using Word like a typewriter, there are settings you can have on every single paragraph where the formatting is already there and the formatting is already given a name, like a style. So I'm going to type some things in here, and you will see that those paragraphs are already formatted in a specific way with a specific font, specific indentation, and you can pre-format. In other words, memorize formatting and never have to do it again, and give it shortcut keys like heading 1 for the first level of an outline, heading 2 for the second level of an outline, etc. And every template can have exactly the same buttons in it, but have different definitions. So this goes hand in hand with some of the questions that were being asked, like tables of contents. When tables of contents are being made, I can put them in automatically right now because table of contents is already link automatically to certain styles like heading 1, heading 2, or heading 3. So if I were to insert a table of contents anywhere I wanted, I could even do it right here, right now. Because the template is already set up, and again, a template is nothing more than a document with all the formatting already done and memorized, it takes just about exactly the same amount of time as it does to format the document directly. You just do it within these menus rather than doing it over here. But if I were to go and choose to do a reference right now and insert a table of contents, automatically everything that was in heading 1 or heading 2 up here came into that table of contents, and that's how you would do it. There are a couple of books out there like Word for Law Firms. I was one of the authors of the first edition. But that is what the purpose of styles, and the fact that I can go and use either the menu choice for the formatting, such as quote right here. That's what a double indent looks like. Or I can use a shortcut key and say, no, that paragraph should be Control-Alt-1, which is heading 1, or Control-Alt-2, heading 2, or Control-Alt-3, heading 3. Those are the reasons for having them. It reduces your editing time by about 80%. You do the formatting once, you memorize it in a template, and you're off to the races. But you're also able to fix one particular document. So for instance, if I had one particular document where a certain judge or a certain attorney wanted things a certain way, then you can go in, pardon my pop-ins there, you can go in and say, I have this document with all this stuff in it, and let's say, for instance, there are several paragraphs in here. I'm going to put in more, and I could say I want these paragraphs to be in the body text style, and I want this one to be in quote. The next thing is that you could say, well, gosh darn it, all the quotes in my document need to be a specific way, italic or underline, and I don't want to go and find them and fix them. I don't have to. Everything using this style, I can right-click and modify it and say I want all quotes to be italic and underlined and or bold. And so I have fixed everything using the quote style. And this is the way Word was meant to be used. Kind of like, the scare about from WordPerfect, where are my reveal codes? They're there. You just have to know where they are. But I've just fixed all the quotes in here. And once again, if I go and change any of these other paragraphs to be of a numbered style, Control-Alt-2, for instance, if I right-click on this table of contents and update the field, the table of contents will include the extra information. There we are, and it's all built. Regarding other questions like security in the cloud, and again, my topic is Adobe, so we'll jump into that in a moment. My favorite conversation is this. The security in your own office for technology, when a document is stored on your laptop or a document is stored on the internal server in your office, the security is only as good as the plate glass window on your office. You break it and stuff, people walk off with it from there. That being said, depending on whether you use tools like Dropbox or anything else, you will have more security because they invest more in it, but there will be other problems, like indeed if you have a firm using Dropbox and there are many people, if it is indeed synchronized to your desktop and it's synchronized to 2 or 3 different desktops, and then and then you would have the possibility of having conflicting stuff. All right, so there are also check with your malpractice insurance carriers and your local bar associations to see whether or not they bless some of the document sharing systems. There are a lot out there. Okay, security in the cloud, Dropbox, footnotes, keeping them together. That's a toughie. Basically, every single paragraph in it has a setting, and it can be a part of the style, and there's a style used for keeping the footnotes together. So when you look at a paragraph's definitions, one of the things that is in there is line and page breaks, and you can have in each paragraph in the footnote itself keep with next, so that one paragraph is kept with the next paragraph is kept with the next paragraph. You can have that built into the style, or you can do that manually, and that will either allow or disallow the footnote from being broken into 2 different pages. All right, so any more questions on that before we go into Adobe?
Nope, I think the next questions I see are going to be Adobe, so if you want to go through your presentation, then we'll open it up for questions on Adobe. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
great. Well, so the PDF is the PDF is the PDF, and there's still people not using them, and now that court systems are demanding electronic filing, the PDF is everything, and there are people who believe in the PDF and people who believe in the PDF really too much because they believe that the PDF is the most secure thing out there. And PDF is actually now the lowest common denominator. One of the things that's happened is Adobe no longer has exclusive rights to the term PDF or to the making of PDF. So now, in addition to Adobe, there are dozens of packages out there, such as Nuance and PDF docs, that will do the same thing, more or less, for more or less money. Unlike Microsoft Word, where there are different versions of the software, and newer documents from Word, something made in Word 2016 might not be able to be opened in Word 97. Pretty much everything is universal. We're going to discuss now using Adobe brand PDF, and we're going to be using the Adobe DC brand, okay, which means that it is just one of the releases. There are many ways of purchasing it. Adobe Reader is free, and you can open PDFs, but you can't do a lot with them, and everybody has already been through, if you've been in practice even for 5 years or more, the idea that, well, if I want the real stuff, if I want to be able to manipulate PDFs, I have to have Adobe Acrobat Pro. And now that the market is in a competitive mode, and there are competitive brands out there, the pricing models have changed, and that's very much what the new online software is about. Having Office 365 does not mean you have a different version of Word. It is still Word 2016. It just means you've purchased it in a different way, and you get some extra bells and whistles in the cloud, quote unquote. It also means that rather than buying one CD that you're only allowed to install on one machine, you're allowed to install it on up to 5 machines per license that you pay. And Adobe Pro in the DC, with a new DC label on it, is a way to get Adobe for a monthly fee of about $15 rather than spending what used to be $800 per license. So, taking a step backwards, we're going to look at the difference in menus of the old Adobe and the new, but let's talk about it in generalities as well, because just about everything I can do in the current version of Adobe, I'm going to be able to do in competitive products as well, although the menus may be different. Now, let's first get under our belts just to be sure that there are two ways of making a PDF. All of the word processors and other packages out on the market allow you to go to File and choose Save As, and you can turn around and save any document as a PDF. All right, so I'm going to choose to make a PDF here, and there it is. I'm going to save this exact document as letterhead to PDF, and I'm going to put it on my desktop, and I'm going to then I'll put it in Acrobat and save it there, and that's just made myself a PDF out of this. Now that is the easiest way, but it is not necessarily the most complete way. But at the same point, it is also a way that is clean, crisp, searchable, means I can go and copy and paste information right out of that. But it also means that it's very small, which means I can upload it to certain websites. What's the second way of making a PDF? And the second way is scanning. Now, scanning is what people have considered the safest way to make a PDF. That's partially true because the PDF is not searchable. It is a black and white photograph. It is the electronic form of a Xerox. So, and again, brand names, sorry, all other copiers of the world, Ryko, etc. So when I have a PDF that I've made electronically, it's small, it's accurate, but it's also searchable. So let me go down in here now and find this one that I've just made, which is going to be in here somewhere. It's called Letter to PDF, if this is where I've saved it. All right, let's see if I've saved the document, and let me refresh this. Okay. Where is refresh? Okay. All right. So let's just jump ahead from that right now because I'm just not seeing it, and I'm very famous for saving things the wrong place. But let's take a look at, let me just go back here and save it again. Let's go Word, put it on my desktop. So File, Save As, and we're going to switch it to PDF. There we go. And I'm going to go to More Options, and I'm going to then put this directly on my desktop. Okay, letterhead 2, and there we go, saving it as a PDF. It's outputting it right now, and voila, it's going to be on my desktop here somewhere here. Let me just tap on it, letterhead 2. Okie dokie. Too many things on my desktop. Okay, so let's open one from the list that I have here. When something is made by scanning, for instance, let us look at the employee agreement PDF. You can see that when you open a PDF that's scanned, it doesn't look necessarily as clean as all get out. If it has been made electronically, it is clean. This one has been made electronically, and we can see that I can select things and copy and paste out of it. But that, more importantly, if you have it saved in an indexed folder in Windows, or better yet, a document management system, you can search your folders for anything with the word, let's go into a Windows box. I can use this search text and find any document with a specific word in it. Now that's an important thing when you're trying to look at finding stuff. The deal with a PDF, though, is if it has been made electronically, it's easy to work with, it's small and compact. Great. If it's made by scanning, you think it's a secure document and people can't change it. So let's take a look at that soon-to-be nullified myth. Because when we have documents in here, such as an employee agreement, this one has obviously been scanned. Now, does that mean that I am not capable of doing anything with it? If it was sent to me via email and I have it in my email and I open it up, have I been prevented from doing anything with it? If I'm wanting to be opposing counsel, have you stymied me? And the answer is no, because at any point in the full-blown versions of this software, we can turn right around and use a feature that will allow us to look at this PDF and actually do a process called OCR, another three-letter acronym, optical character recognition, which is something you want to be able to do if you're on the receiving end as well, because any document that is scanned is a black and white picture, but if the scan is good enough, we can use one of these tools over here on the right to take this document and analyze it and turn it back into a form where the words are readable. So if I were to go into my home menu, I can look there, I can look in the tools menu, and here are all the tools either here or here. And if I choose to, for instance, edit this PDF, let me click on it and see if I want to edit this PDF. And now what's happening to it is I now have the ability to take this one black and white picture. Well, that's not exactly helping me because a black and white picture isn't what I want it to be. The question is, can I turn around and turn this into text? And the answer is yeah, I really, really can. So if I didn't know where the menu was for this, let's go back to the tools. I can look at organize, enhance the scans. Let's look at enhancing this scan. Can I enhance the scans? Look at this, recognize text. This is our OCR agent built into Adobe. I can recognize the text in this one file. And as I do so, it is now going to recognize OCR this text. And now you'll notice it straightened things out a little bit. But if I were to go back now after it finishes doing all of this, then you will be able to see that I am now capable of selecting this text individually. Even though it still looks like the messy, crooked OCR or messy, crooked Xerox copy, I now can copy this information out of here. I could go right into, for instance, Microsoft Word. Let's just go there, Microsoft Word. La la la, come on, mouse, come back to me, thank you. All right, and Microsoft Word. All right, Zoom seems to be slowing me up. Let's try Notepad. There we go. There we go. All right, so there's Word finally coming up. The video meetings seem to mess these things. But if I were to paste right now, I have just copied and pasted the text right out of that document, which means, you know, is a PDF really safe anymore? Oh no, not at all. Because now I can literally, if I wish, complete with letterhead and everything else. Let's go and take any one of these documents and let's have a PDF made of it. I'm now able to copy and paste out of it. And for those of you who already have known and done this, it can be messy because there might be a paragraph mark at the end of each one of these things, and that's messy. It's an unhappy situation. This is still a pretty messy, skewed, fuzzy document. But let me tell you that we can turn around and take this skewy, messy, fuzzy document and we can turn it right into a Microsoft Word file. Let's click Export. And I'm going to put this again in my computer, and I'm going to choose a different folder, and I'm going to try to export this right into, now I have a document management system. That's another advantage. I use NetDocuments in my firm. And if you have a document management system either internally or externally, which is always a great idea for indexing, searching, and finding all documents in your entire practice with the words Mackenzie, River, and Salmon in it, this Adobe will link to it, but I can also go directly back to my computer. And I'm going to save this once again on my desktop, so hopefully I can find it quickly. And I'll call it the OCR Employment Agreement DOCX, and I will save it. and I'll replace it because I've already done this class once before, and it is literally initializing a conversion engine. Now there are several options I could have turned on. I could have said, ignore all the handwritten stuff, ignore the stamps. And so while it's turning around and doing this, it is creating a Microsoft Word document. And again, I'm going to be bogged down a little bit just because we're using the Zoom meeting, and that takes away from my processing speed. So while this is happening, are there any questions on anything I've said so far?
Any questions of anything he said from the audience in person? I do have some online.
Okay.
Not specific to things you said unless I missed it for a second, but any advice with regards to bait stamping in Adobe?
Oh gosh, yes. Bait stamping, if you have the full-on version, bait stamping is still pretty darn wonderful. You have to know where it is, and it's in advanced processing. And one of the nifty things about bait stamping is that you don't have to have each individual document open. I will show you some advanced processing tools as we get to the end of this and progress through. But bait stamping, you can literally point at a directory and say, here are all the documents in this directory. I wish to have the bait stamp with the following number in it, and go through each page of the documents, through all of these documents in this order, and kick back and watch it bait stamp 2,000 pages and 300 documents. So the answer is yes, and I'll show that to you momentarily.
Excellent.
All right, so let's see if I've got my document on here. And what am I looking for? I am looking for, let me refresh. I have two different screens, one that you can't see here. And so I am looking for employment agreement. Okay, this was OCR employment agreement, and I'm hitting refresh. And OCR, Outlook, okay. Nope, it's just not coming up yet. So let's see if I have that in. I think I do have it in my folder, because I've done this multiple times already. So let's go into my folder. And let's go ahead and save that one more time, because I really do want to show you how powerful this is. Let us go, and we are going to export, and Microsoft Word, export one more time, save as. Am I in the right place? Let's go into this folder and put it there, and we're going to call it OCR Agreement AAA, just to make sure that it's in that list, so I can find it quickly, because I get easily misled. There we go. All right.
Do you want to take another question while it's exporting?
Certainly, certainly.
Okay, thank you. How do you set up PDFs for ESignature? Is it the same as DocuSign?
The answer is ESignature. There are two ways of doing it. ESignature will link to these programs, so will several others like VeriSign, DocuSign. You can prepare for signature, you can send for signature, but the programs that you have, the services that you're set up with can be linked directly to it. So when you say send for ESignature, then you will have the links to the software packages that you want, or you could upload it to ESignature. There are also several document management systems. You can send for ESignature. You can use Adobe's own brand of signature, or you can link and add in the Save As button, like you will have Save As or Save to WordPerfect in Word. You can say send to signature and have it linked to DocuSign or VeriSign or several of the other packages that are out there, depending on which ones you wish to use. There's also fill-in sign, which I will show you in a moment, where you can put in a non-electronic signature where you have an image of your own signature instead. So let's go back now and see if I can refresh on this. And I am just not seeing where it is yet. All right, I am just not seeing it. Let's just go on and see. I'm just not seeing where I've put it. All right, let's jump into some other amazing features, and I will find that wonderful document in, it was AAA. I called it AAA, didn't I? Yes. Okay, so let's look for AAA. All right. All right, I'm going to do search for that on another screen, and we're going to talk about that in just a, we'll show you the conversion of that in just a moment. If anybody else is seeing what I'm doing wrong because I'm just in hyperactive mode, let me know. So I'm going to go to the home screen for this. I'm going to go back to the big contract here. There are several other things we want to talk about when we are creating PDFs, because there are ways to create packages. So remember the concept of, it's much bigger if I have a contract that I have signed, and I have a 400-page contract, and I'm scanning it because I want the signature page. Well, the thing is, you don't have to do it that way. You don't have to scan the whole thing. It is possible to do what is called organized pages. And when you choose organized pages, you're allowed to rearrange the whole PDF, but you could also, for instance, insert other documents in here. So one of the things I could do is I could do file save as on my contract and delete the last page with a signature line on it, scan the one page that is the signature line, and choose insert from a file. The fun part about this is it does not have to be a PDF file. It can be a PDF file. If you've got a one-page signature, you could drag that in here. But if I go to my computer, for instance, and I go in here and I choose from my computer, giddy up system, let's hurry up, we're showing people, oh, all right, fine, just because I'm on a GoToMeeting. That's the way it is. So let's just open that again. All right. And so here is my agreement one more time. And again, if I go to Organize Pages, I can go anywhere and I can choose to insert from a file. All right. And I could choose a file here, and I could go to Computer and choose a folder, or choose many folders. Let me go to my computer and see if that's what's bogging us down here. There we go. So I could take any of these things from, for instance, my Documents folder, or my desktop folder in which I have the Adobe Acrobat examples, and I could say, here's an attachment. I just drag that in here. All right, that's how easy it is. I have now dragged in another page, and so, sure enough, oops, I wasn't on the organized page. Let's go once more to organize, and I'll just bring in a folder here, and I will drag from this folder, and I can even drag in a letterhead that I was using. I'll drag that over here, and once again, it will convert it, and I can just insert a specific page, or I can use the menu to insert a specific page, and it can be a PDF, or it can be another document. It can be an Excel spreadsheet. It can be an email, and I can then organize. It's starting, and it's trying to drag it in, it's reading it, it's converting it into a PDF, and once again, being slow because of our little GoToMeeting package. But I've just added another page to this. I can drag pages around, reorganize them, and once again, I can turn around and save this or send it as a PDF, which means you can have combinations of scanned and not scanned information, which means you can drag in the one signature page and then have everything else be perfect, the file size small, upload it to a website without or attach it to an email without the horrible file size restrictions. Okay. Now, there are several topics we can go into in terms of organizing and managing this, but here's the next part that I want to just scare you to death about. I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to this OCR agreement. I'm not going to be in organized pages anymore. I'm going to go to Home, OCR agreement. Let's go back here and let's edit the PDF. Now, let me show you something that is absolutely horrifying. If I choose to edit this PDF and the PDF was electronic, I can actually take out and edit words. I can change will to won't in a contract. Even though this is a PDF piece of software, I can go in here and I can take words that are in here and change them, which is now one of the reasons why the full-blown versions of Adobe Editing's packages have their own comparison tools to do redlining in it. Because everything that's good for you in managing your PDF information is bad for you in that other people can also do that to you, even if it was scanned. And I've just proved that, because if I go to a specific page and I say first OCR this page, once again, I will go to edit my PDF, or I will go to enhance my scan, turn around and recognize the text in it in this file, and let it do it again, because I had already done and closed this file. Now the thing is, if I go after enhancing the scan and I choose recognize the text, it will do it. And there it is. You'll notice it put it around, it straightened it out. That sort of helps a little bit. And now that as soon as it's done with my little wristwatch right there, if I then go to edit the PDF, all right, and I use my tool here, I'm going to be able to switch this to another mode, copy and paste it out. But I'll also be able to press another button on enhance the image and turn it back into text, or save it as a Word document and actually edit it and change it. Very, very frightening. There are also tools to remove these stamps. You can go in here and select objects. Now, the things that you're talking about in the advanced areas are, let's go to the menu systems, and we'll go to protect or fill and sign, and there are several things we can do, such as, let us go to, looking for protect. When we go here to protect, we can restrict editing, but we can also remove hidden information. Everything that we do in here is about layers. So for instance, if you remember from your childhood, if you're as old as I am, there was a childhood thing called a shrinky dink, a piece of plastic you could color on, and it would then put it in the oven, melt together, and it'd be one thing. Each layer of a PDF is another clear transparency layer. And so for instance, if I go and do some fun editing things, like in commenting on the PDF, if I go and comment on the PDF and I use, for instance, the highlighter tool, this is adding another layer to the PDF. So that's all now highlighted. Is the highlighting really there? Yes, it is. Can it be removed? Yeah. If I email this to somebody else, can it be removed? Yeah, it can. So when we want to send stuff out of here, out of our firm, and hand it off to somebody else, perhaps we want to put this in the oven and layer it so that, or fix it so that the things we've added, like this receive stamp, can't be taken out. Or maybe we want to remove this stuff before we send it on to other people. So when I go back to the tool that says protect, I'm able to go in here into more options and look at document security, but I can also remove hidden information, restrict editing, or if we go into another tool, we can sorry, wrong button. We can edit the PDF, we can look at watermarks, we can look at more, and we can begin looking at removing the backgrounds and removing the layers, or we can advance process again, also in protection. Under advanced tools, we can do what is called, oh my gosh, I'm having a brain cramp. It is called, in this version, what is the word I'm looking for? Somebody help me. Melting the layers together. Not compress, not collapse. I'm having a brain cramp. Flatten. The word is flatten. I'm looking for flatten. So how do I flatten here? Let's go to help and look for flatten. So I'm going to go to online support and look for flatten. How do I flatten a PDF? And it's going to tell me in the linked online help system. It's another thing that's great about tools these days. says the help system is updated every minute, and it isn't when it's on installed software. So importantly, a merger flatten hides any content that is in the operation flatten. So if we click on this, we will learn how to flatten, and it'll tell us what menus to use. Okay. All right, so there's the layers button. We can hit, choose view and look at layers and hide them in the tools for this. So we can flatten that. Let's now go and look at, on this same thing under more, here is our Bates numbering. And so if we choose add or remove, let's choose add, and it's basically a macro system. It says which file do we want to work this with, and we could add other files to the list. We could say there are 100 files I want to do this, or I want to do it to just this one. And now we will choose the output options, and we will tell it what to do. I would like to, when I'm done, keep this in the original file name, or make a whole new set of files called the same file and call it the same file but Bates numbered. And I can add to the original file name or not, or I can choose, change the file location on where the log goes that says it's been done. So I choose OK. I'm going to keep the original file names in the same folder I'm just going to modify the exact same file. I'm going to choose OK, and we're going to replace existing if it exists in there. That's only if Adobe made it. And now we get to say what it looks like. We can put in the header or the footer, and we could say we prepend it with the word defendant, and then we can choose the Bates number option. We can say how many digits it starts it from 1, or if we don't want to type this here, we can have other information here and put the prefix in here. So instead of doing that there, we can have the prefix be part of the number. So if I insert Bates number, 6 digits starting at the number 3, and the prefix is defendant, and I choose OK, and I've inserted it on the left, and you'll see it here. When I choose OK, it's going to add that to the bottom of all of these. Okay. There it is, and it's in the bottom of all of these, and this is again an object that, as long as you have it in your system, it is going to be addable and removable. Once you turn around and want to send them out, you'll want to go through the flattening process to make sure this can't be removed or modified or edited. We always want to send things out flattened if we don't want the other folks to mess with it. Does that begin to answer your Bates question for the folks who texted in?
That begins definitely to answer the Bates question, and along the lines of where you're at right now, we have a question about redaction. Can I follow it up here, or do you want to?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. So it's a two-part question on redaction. The first part is, how do you redact a document? And then the concerning part is, can the redactions be removed from the redacted text?
Okay, so redaction is a wonderful, wonderful concept, and the answer is it's multi-step. You are allowed to redact. That's fine. The redactions are not permanent, so that multiple people can review your redactions. And then when you are in the final stage, you put it in the oven and melt the layers together so that the redactions cannot be undone. Now let's talk about redactions, because redaction is a scary thing. Remember when I OCR'd this? It still looks the same in front. There are words hidden in the background. And if I were to go File, Save As a text file, all the words would be there. So redaction is more than just blocking these words from view. The redaction process is a very important process that also removes all the background metadata. So how do we do redaction? So once again, I'm going to go to the edit menu, and I'm going to look for things. I'm not finding it. I can't think about it. Let's go and look at edit PDF. Let's look at more and background, add bookmark, attach file. Well, I'm not finding it here. Where is it? So let's ask about redaction. Oops, wrong button. There we go. Because they've changed it, they've moved it. How to redact a PDF. Right? Okay. And see, that one was for version 11. That's where the help system gets confusing. Is it for, so, content, blackout, remove content tools, choose tool protection, mark for redaction. So let's go look at the document and see if I can figure out that from in here, I have protect. Ah, that's where redaction is. So here is the flatten idea, remove hidden information, and here's where we can go and find all those things, and we can choose to remove them and remove the pieces that we don't want there, like remove the redaction, remove the highlighting and the comments, and we can also go to more options and we can choose document security. We can also choose protect. Come on. Let's go to the main menu tools. Okay, so we are going to look for comment. Where is prepare? I'm looking for edit, export scans. Let's go and look at one that's actually, easier to work with. Protect. Here is redact. Okay, so I'm going to start with one that is much easier to work with. Because I want to use one that is easier to see. So we're going to look at one that was made electronically. All right, so this one is made electronically, so let's redact this one. It's just cleaner. All right, so here's one I want to, oh, it isn't even made electronically. Look at that. This one was definitely scanned. It's a nice scan, but let's still look at tools, and we're going to go down here to protect, and I'm going to go back to my tools menu. I like that better. Because down here has them broken down, redact. So we're going to go to redact. Now, when we have the redaction tools up here, there are several things like properties. First of all, what do we want the redactions to look like? When we go to the properties for redaction, is it going to be a color? Do we want to have the word redacted put in there? All of those things we can set up. Right now, when I go and mark for redaction, okay, I can do it in several ways. For instance, I can choose text and images, and I can just mark it myself. All right, mark for redaction. Now this is about telling you what I'm about to tell you. Mark for redaction, and then apply the redactions. So the first step is to mark for the redactions. And then you can see, there it is. That is marked for redaction, and so is this. When I put my mouse over it, it will show what it's going to look like when it has actually been redacted. But you keep it in this state without applying the redaction until somebody else reviews it and says, okay, this is good, I'm ready to redact it. Now, once again, we can go to properties and we can change what it looks like. I don't want it to just have the word, have the blackout box. I want it to use overlay text, and the custom text is going to say redacted by Allan. And let's say the font color for that will be not red but white. All right, and now when I choose OK, then when I put my mouse over this, it's going to say, what if I save it again, it's going to say, I want this to say redacted by Allan, but in this case I don't. So once you've got it redacted, there we go. We can then say apply. Now this is where I would save it as a separate version so that I had an unredacted and a redacted copy. I don't want to destroy the copy I already have, but I have all of these backed up for my purposes, so I'm going to hit apply. Now, you are about to permanently remove all the content that has been marked for redaction, including the background text that's searchable. Once the document is saved, this document, notice saved. Once this document is saved, the operation cannot be undone. Are you sure you want to continue? Okay. And once we do that, it is now done. We can go a step further. Was there anything other than redaction in this document? And we are going to go and sanitize the document, and it says, this is the flattened stuff. It was hidden all this time under the protective options of this form. And so metadata, embedded metadata, all these things. Let's look for all of these things and see if any of those things are in there. And sure enough, it's going to make us save it somewhere. So I'm just going to go back to my computer and save it. Compare contract 1 PDF, redacted. And press save. And again, it's doing it, it's processing the images, it's layering all this stuff together, it's melting them. You're not going to be able to search for the words that are behind this because those words will have been removed. And if again we choose sanitize document, it's going to compare the remove hidden information. We're going to say okay, and it's going to tell us what's in here. There's metadata which we can remove. It's going to try to save it again. I'm not going to, but we can remove all of these individual pieces, and we can go and look at these overlapping objects or the hidden text, and we can remove all of this information before we save it and make it absolutely safe. You want to be triple certain. You could also turn right around and save this by going File, Save As, or File, Export, and send it out to images, TIFF images, that will not have any background stuff in it. But you can, if you follow all the steps, safely redact information. Do I have time for a couple more features that I just dearly love?
Let me just turn to the audience. Does anyone have any questions? So we have about 10 minutes. I want to make sure if you have any specific questions, we can get those answered. Okay, I have one more from the web audience. Is emailing PDFs that contain sensitive information like a social security number using Adobe secure?
The answer is here, the answer is no. It is yes and no. Because what can you do with the PDF? Let us say you type in a social security number in a document and you made a big PDF out of it. And the point is to have that form that shows the social security number. Well, if they can print out that social security number, print out that document with the social security number in it, can they scan it? Yeah. Can they read it? Yeah. So if you redact it, which meaning they can't see it, the answer is it is secure then, but nobody can see it. So what is your definition of secure? Because if the form is being sent because somebody has to see the PDF, see the document, see the social security number because they're going to be filling it out of the insurance company, is it safe? Well, it's as safe as if you've written it down anywhere because you're sending the document. If you are redacting it and you then hide the social security number so it can't be seen and you take all the steps that I just showed you in the redaction, then yes, it is safe. Even in the EMS, in all the abbreviations for all the different types of secure PDF, the answer is if they can take a screenshot of it and see it, they can save that screenshot as a PDF and they can OCR it, and no, it's not safe. So the question is context. Is it safe? It's safe if you redact it. If it's being sent because it has to be sent, yeah, it's the safest way to send it, but the whole point of sending it is so somebody can have it. And so the question then becomes, how do you send it, which is where document sharing comes into play as opposed to email, because sharing documents securely through something like a document management system, NetDocuments or WorldDocs or Clio or anything else like that, that's where you get above and beyond it. It just depends on whether the recipient of the PDF has to see the social security number or not.
Great, thank you. I think we'd love to hear your additional tips. I'll just keep an eye out to our audience here. If you have a question, raise your hand and I will interrupt you.
So here's another big thing, because Adobe had this lockdown for years. If you want to automate I love having my clients fill out forms for me because I can take those forms back and automate them and I don't have to fill out their name and address in my client intake system. But the thing is, you make a form. How do you make a form? Well, a form was almost worthless in time before, in the earlier versions of PDF, because you had to have the $800 version to make a form. It was tedious. And then if you sent the form to somebody else in Adobe and they only had Adobe Reader, they could fill out the form, but it would not allow you to save the form and send it back to you. They'd have to print it out. That was the only way it would work. Now with the ownership, it is changed, and I want to show you something that'll knock your socks off. I may, let's say somebody makes a very complex form in Word. Very, very complex. Can we agree that that's a very complex form? Yay. And you know, and I know if you've done it, the form building tool was enormously annoying. You'd have to turn it on. You'd have to draw a box here. You'd have to name it. You'd have to say whether it was a drop-down box or not. Now, if you had the advanced tool yourself, you could fill out other people's forms by using the typewriter tool and coming in and typing on top of this form. And if you had the $800 version way back when, you could then save it. And a lot of secretaries and paralegals out there know about that. But now I want to show you the latest and greatest in thing. I'm going to go to the form tool again, and instead of editing this PDF, I'm going to go back to prepare form. So here's this original document that was created in Word or any designer whatsoever. I could have downloaded it from a website, even a courthouse website that doesn't know anything about forms. They just have the form. They expect you to print it out and type on it. Well, that. Click on this, click Start. Wait a couple of seconds. And now there are all your boxes already made. And we go, instead of prepare form, we just go back to not preparing the form, but going back and clicking on the arrow tool and going back to editing the form. So let's go back to edit the PDF. And now look at what I've got. I've got fill in, I'm sorry, wrong box. Let's just go to form complex. There we go. And I am going to, where's my tool? Okay, I'm looking at the preparation mode. Oh, you know what I don't have turned on? I don't have my page now. I don't have my tool turned on the side that lets me, I'm in the preview mode. Now I'm in the preview mode. Now I can do it. There we go, preview mode. So now this form in 3 seconds was made for me, and I can type in it, save it, send it back to the originator who didn't even know that this was possible. And I could go further and automate this form and tie it into systems like Clio or Zoom or any of the other big packages out there, so that when somebody fills it out and sends it back to me, it dumps all this information into whatever database I'm using. So you are now form gods and goddesses, if we're going to use the gender-specific words, and you can crank out forms left and right if your firm is form intensive, even if you don't email them. When a new client comes in, I have an iPad sitting right on my desk with the forms already on it. I have them fill out the information, type it in themselves while they're in the waiting room, a la your physician, and I have all the information captured automatically. More questions from the audience?
Yes. Can you please do that again a little bit more slowly?
Certainly, certainly, certainly. So once again, you take any document. Let me just close this. I'm going to close this document. There are tools that are labeled both here and on your main menu. So I'm not going to save this. I'm just going to go and open any document. It could be a Word document. I happen to have a form that was already saved. Word saved it as a PDF, but it could be a Word form where you've used tables and you've put in the boxes. Now, Word also has check boxes as well, as you saw from one of my templates. But let's just say I have saved it as a PDF. All you have to do now is open that PDF. There are tools on the tools menu here that you can see. There can also be this toolbar down the side, and you can choose Prepare Form. When you choose Prepare Form, okay, oops, again, I didn't have it closed. Let me do another simpler form. Let me just do something. Let me close all these. We'll do a much simpler form so it's not so visually overwhelming. I have several forms in my folder here. So let's go back to here and open my Forms tool. I have a form complex. I have a form client intake. There, that's a little more simple. So I have a form client intake. That maybe was scanned, maybe wasn't. Doesn't matter. All right. Ooh, this one already has the boxes in it. Never mind. Already done. Let's do another form. It'll take another form that is form speaker reimbursement. Boxes on it. There we go. Once the form is on my screen, I use the tool that's available from Tools here, okay, or over here, either way, Prepare Form. Then it says, is this the form you want? Yep, it's the one I have on the screen. Or I can, if I have a document scanner hooked up, I could say, scan the document in right now that I want to turn it. And I could say this document needs signatures or not, which means I can attach a tab, an electronic signature if I want, but I'm not going to use that in this case. Then all I do is click here and choose Start, and I'm done. It does the rest. It is in design mode, so if you want to change that this is right aligned or left aligned or has a dollar symbol in it or is limited to only one line, you can go and look at the properties of that particular field. But all I had to do was press that one button, and now when I click Preview, the form is built. And you can save this as a form and have it in your library, email it to anyone, and they can type in all the information you want. But if you go back to editing the form, you can get fancy and you can add more things like this. You could say center that one field, or you can name that field, or you can give it a pop-up message that says what to put in here and why. You can get very, very expansive on this. But as far as I'm concerned, every form that I download from my doctor, my insurance company, or any of my clients, I just press that one button that says prepare form. I fill it out and send it back to them, and they call me back and say, how did you do that?
Was that helpful? And a couple of other people, and we'll just ask because we're getting short on time, if we can maybe get some additional just written instructions, and we can put some stuff together for you with regards to bait stamping, OCR, and these forms, because they're complex features and they're appreciating all this Adobe information.
So the first thing is you have a line of defense right now. If you have the latest versions of Adobe, there is, of course, the help system, but the online support is the best way to do it. And you can see I did it live. I forgot where the Bates numbering was in the newer version, because in every version, they move things around. And I simply asked online support, where is it? And it took me through the tools. Now, again, this is the business I'm in. I'm not selling from the podium, but there are lots of people willing to help you with this and match the right software and compare these things. Consultants, nationwide consultants in your area that can say, hey, here are the price options of Adobe as a licensed product versus Nuance, and whether it's packaged and whether it'll integrate with your document management system. But the best way to do this, if you want to do it on your own, my last name is Mackenzie. I'm a Scot, and I am stereotypical. I pinch pennies till they scream. And before I hire any consultants, I go out on YouTube and say, Adobe DC Pro Redact, and there's bound to be a video on it. But those videos are also right here in the help system. So if you want more, you can have it instantly. If you'd like to contact me or anybody else that is recommended, come right to the Massachusetts MCLE group, and they'll have a library of either answers or people for you.
Great. Thank you so much. Do we have one last question, or? No. I think you have both answered everyone's questions. Well, we cannot thank you enough. John, do you want me to turn it back over to MCLE? All right. Well, if everyone can please join me in giving them both a round of applause and thanking them so much for their time. This has been incredibly informative. You will have all the materials available to you. If you're here in person, you have your binders to take out, but everything is also going to be available online for those of you who are joining us virtually, but you'll also be able to access it if you are here. Thank you again for joining us. We'll stick around for people who are here who have any additional questions, and you can get back to your lovely warm weather. Thank you so much for joining us virtually today.